Mother Funny Time with Andie and Angie.
2 cousins, 8 kids, 1 grandkid, 2 states.
And a whole lot of fun. Woo! Welcome back, Mother Funny Tribe. It's Angie and Andy. I hope that's not overstimulating for you, the way I sing so sweetly in your ears.
It was very soothing.
Was it? Okay, so this is the cure. Welcome.
We need some jazz music.
Welcome back. I can't sing. I wish I could sing jazz. Anyway, we're here today. Angie, tell them what we're talking about.
Today, Mother Funny Tribe, we are talking about overstimulation. Okay.
As moms.
I was trying to make it sound exciting because it's kind of like a...
It is exciting.
Like, you went for like the calm approach and I went for the excited approach, which is part of being overstimulated as a mom. You might have a super calm, chill moment as being a mom, and then all of a sudden there's so much happening and it's craziness and it's a lot can happen all at once when you're a mom. And so we're going to talk today about moms dealing with overstimulation, how they process through it. Eventually, probably in the next podcast, we'll talk about strategies to help when you are overstimulated. I have 5 kids. Andy has 3 kids. But let's face it, when you have a bunch of kids, there's also always a lot of other kids around too, and other families, and you're going places and doing things. So this is a very relatable topic, especially right now. School is happening. Sports are happening. There's homework. There's routines. Moms are carpooling, driving everywhere, so moms are always on the go. So this is probably one of the best topics happening at the best moment of your life. How was that pitch? Did I pitch it pretty good?
Sounds amazing. Amazing. I also want to add in there, we're in an election year, and we're in that like full swing election season. So we every 4 years we get to add that onto our craziness in lives, because then that brings a whole new set of stimuli and conversations and all sorts of things. So we have a lot going on as a mom. And like Angie said, it's not just your children. It could also be, like she said, your kids' friends, but also your spouse in the mix.
Wow.
Not about, but they don't know. They can add to that as well. I think all of us moms can relate to, at some point, everybody in the kitchen talking to you at the same time, including your husband or whatnot, and then just mom loses it for a minute, reaches her breaking point, is just like, I'm done. And everybody's like, what's wrong with her?
Why is she freaking out? What's going on?
I feel like the overstimulated mom is the one in this world who's the most gaslit. Because let me tell you why.
There's a statement. Let's hear it.
I know that was an extreme statement, and maybe it's an over-exaggeration, but I feel like the overstimulated mom is usually overstimulated by those she loves and cares for, right? Like, not that they mean to. Nobody, generally has bad agendas, but it just becomes too much. And at some point they lose it because of what their family has driven them to. And then the family looks at them like they're crazy. They're like, what's wrong with you? Oh, she's a whole mood. Oh, then they start patronizing you and like patting you on the head. It's going to be okay.
Take
Crazy
a chill
woman.
pill, mom.
Yeah. Calm down.
Jeez.
And we're like, it's you people.
But I love
You've done this to me, and you're now calling me crazy.
But you're great.
My family doesn't call me crazy, but there were so many years where, like, I would be the one. I mean, they would look at me like, wow, mom, you got to be careful with her. And I'd be like, wait a minute. After so many years, I'm like, this is you people. This is not me. This is you people. And your ways that have driven me to this point. So
I have a feeling our moms, if they're listening, are feeling really validated right now.
I think all moms should feel validated.
The next time there's a holiday, my mom's going to say that to me. Just like Andy says, this is you people. This is your fault.
This is your fault.
I'm calling you. When my mom starts saying that, I'm going to just call Andy. You talk to her.
Call Andy. Well, here's what I mean. Okay, and I think different things can overstimulate different people, right? Different moms. I'm going to tell you what overstimulates me. I've thought about this, and the thing that always brings me like up a notch is constant questions, or questions that I've already answered, or questions that I really have to think about. And I feel like being a mom is just constantly in one press conference after another. You're just in press conferences all day long between your husband and your children. There's just constant mom, hey honey, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? Where's this? My children are adults, and still I had like a house full, which was amazing this weekend. And I still had, hey mom, where's this? Hey, what time's this? When are we doing this? Where's this going to be? Who's going to be there? And I was just all day press conferences.
I love the idea of it being a press conference. I've never thought of it that way, but you're right. Sometimes my kids will be there and I'll be like, here we go. And I'll answer one, and then I answer one. It's just like, okay, did I get them all? Did I get all the questions answered? Because they come at you all at the same time, all day long. Yeah. You know when your kids go through the why stage? What is that? 2.5, 3. Why? Or what's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? And I'm like, oh, we're in that stage. Okay, let's do that. You know? Yeah, it's a lot of questions.
Let me get my microphone. Let me get my makeup artist ready for all the cameras. Yes.
But what you're saying is it doesn't ever end.
No, it does not.
Thanks for the encouragement. Have a good day, Mother Funny Tribe. Bye.
Like, literally, I know. Sorry, everyone. I was downstairs, and I had, like, my adult children and my husband, and I'm telling you, in the span of, like, 2 minutes, my children and my husband were all asking me where their things were. And I was like, I don't know. You're adults. I don't know.
Okay.
Try here. Look here. Try that. Did you look here? Let me help you look. And I'm like, why? I'm a grandma.
Gosh. Even when our kids are in their 20s, we're still using the phrase, let me help you look.
Yes.
No. Did you look for anybody's shoes? I just have to know.
Yes, my grandsons.
Oh, no.
My daughter's half the time. My youngest half the time. Yes.
Really? You're still looking for their shoes,
yes.
even in their 20s?
Even though we have a shoe place.
Well, everybody has a shoe place.
Yeah, I know.
They're just never in that shoe place. Everybody has one. There's always a shoe spot. There's always a spot for shoes. Are the shoes in the shoe spot? That's the real question.
That's the problem, is they're not. So, yes, when people ask, when I get a lot of questions, especially if I'm not over-caffeinated, if I'm not caffeinated. If I'm over-caffeinated, it's bad, and if I'm under-caffeinated, I have to be the right amount of caffeinated to really handle all the questions coming at me at once. But the worst is when I've already said the answer, sometimes 2 times. What are we doing today? Well, this is what we're doing today. 5 minutes later, what are we doing today? This is what we're doing today. Okay, Mom, can I do this? No, because we're doing this today. We're doing that today? Yes, we're doing this today. You didn't tell me we were doing that today. I told you 2 times we're doing that today. Like, it's hard. And then here's the thing. I'm married to the most incredible man. Truly, very few faults. Loves me, treats me like a queen.
You're really setting this up.
I just need you to know what a great person Chris Langham is, because he truly is. He's a guy who always wants to do the right thing, always thinks of others. However, he was raised, instead of making statements, to ask a question. Even if he knows the answer, he will keep asking me questions. And I'll be like, I feel like you should know this answer. And he'll be like, it's this, right? Yeah. Why did you ask me? To this day. So couple that with children, and usually, like when my kids were little, I was watching others full time, all the children, and you could tell I'm passionate about it because I would hit a point of being so overstimulated just by the amount of questions and having to think of answers and saying the same things over and over that generally I would shut down and just be like, forget it. Nobody gets to know anything anymore.
I am the keeper of the calendar. No questions for you.
No questions.
Like the soup Nazi in Seinfeld.
Yes. I'd be like, I would tell them as they got older, I'd be like, you've lost all privileges. They would lose privileges as soon as they asked
to ask a question.
Yeah. My husband usually, I'm like, you've lost question asking privileges. When the kids were little or younger and I homeschooled, because they have to ask questions, but I made a rule that they could only ask 5 non-school questions.
A day?
And they had paper clips, and they would have to.
I was like, an hour?
Yeah,
I think an hour is a little bit more practical.
During school time.
Okay.
They had 5 non-school related questions. And they had to hand me the paper clip every time they ask a question, or a rubber band. And I'd be like, you're out of questions. It can be a school related, but that's it. Because my brain gets overstimulated, and then I get upset. And I don't want to be upset. I don't want to be that mom. None of us do. We want to be the calm, chill moms.
That's why we're going to talk about strategies in the next podcast.
That's right. Right now, I'm just going to unload on you.
Well, but that's part of it, because overstimulation, it's also called sensory overload. Just like you're talking about, like there's so much coming at you and it affects all of your senses that your body and your brain literally cannot take in any more stimulation. Think about it. How many times when you're driving are all of a sudden you're like turning down, I mean, I want to say the radio, but you're turning it down. It has nothing to do with vision.
You're like, I don't know where I am. I got to turn this down. I have to pay attention.
Turn the music down because I'm trying to find where I need to go. It's not related, but we still all do that. It's so funny, but it's just our brains trying to like understand the situation, just start cutting things out because there's too much. There's too much stimulation all at one time. And then you're right. Sometimes there's different ways moms can react to overstimulation. Obviously, sometimes you could get upset. Obviously, sometimes you might cry, or sometimes you might just need to leave the room.
There's good ways to handle it. There's not so good ways. But yes, no, it's true. And when you're sleep deprived, it makes you that much more, I think, sensitive to overstimulation, to having all your senses. Like, my best example is we had, a few years ago, we had an overnight flight and we were exhausted. I've been up like 24 hours at this point, and we're driving in Ireland. And we're on the wrong side of the road. Chris is driving stick, and we're lost. We cannot find where we're staying. We're staying in Airbnb. There's no parking. We're like circling for like 45 minutes. And as we're going, I'm like, I'm so tired. I'm like at the point of stimulation overload. And I see a pub. I'm like, oh, there's a pub. We could have that for dinner. And Shiloh goes, hey, Mom, did you say we're going to eat there for dinner? And I'm like, I don't know. Don't ask me any more questions.
Oh, you lost it.
To this day, they bring that up. You're like, Mom, you literally said we could eat there for dinner. I asked if we're eating there for dinner. You told me I could ask no more questions. I'm all, no more questions. I don't know. I just looked at that spot and thought we could. I don't want to make the rules. What about you? What overstimulates you?
I think that is a good lead in, though, to overstimulation or overstimulated feelings, or how people experience it, right? So like some people, it might be an inability to ignore loud sounds, strong smells, or other types of sensory input. Okay, when I was getting ready for this podcast, they kept mentioning smells. And like about how smells really can affect you. And I'm like, do they not have preteen and teenage daughters? Because the amount of perfume. I know. Like this whole skincare like craze that's happening, it smells beautiful in my bathroom and in their bathrooms.
Do you get overstimulated?
No, I like it. But I think there's some people where that could be too much, right? That could affect them.
I know people who are like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So what overstimulates you? Or like what, if there's too much of it, do you need a minute? It's not noise.
No. I think it's when we're getting so rushed and we're still not ready. Like there's still so much to do and we're going to be late, which is fine. I'm okay with being late. I've come to terms with that my entire life. But when it's even that much more, it's like, okay, we're still not there yet to like get in the car. And like, there's still like this and this and this and this and that. And it's like, oh my gosh. Or like, obviously when the house is a disaster, that could be one thing that really affects people.
Yes.
Like when it's so messy. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, time to pick up. And all the kids are really tired all of a sudden.
Yes.
Or everybody's hungry. And moms are like, wait, but the house, you were just playing with these toys all day. And now they're like, oh, I'm too tired, I'm going to bed. Like, I think that can really become too much, like the mess of things, not having things organized, or at least you want to be able to walk without stepping on Legos and dinosaurs. Sometimes
you want to be able to be in your house without an injury.
Sometimes, yeah.
No, that totally is me as well. So my number 2, or actually probably is number 1, is a really messy environment. Like if it's somewhere else, not in my home, I just want to get out of there. But if it's in my home, I get overstimulated by everything and the thought of like what has to be done and who's especially if it's not my stuff, if it's other people's things, and you're like, who's in charge of this? And you have to think through the things. And then, I usually walk in a room and it's like, this whole house is a disaster. It could be one room. And I'm just like, I'm just done. I'm like, this house is a disaster. It's so messy. But then the minute it's all cleaned, calm. Ask me a question.
That's the thing with being overstimulated. Like there's actually a range of it, which is good for moms to know. So that way, like if you're at the like discomfort, I'm kind of uncomfortable, I'm not loving where we're at right now, like that's kind of like the mild stage of being overstimulated. But it can actually go all the way to the panic stage. So like moms, if you're at that panic stage, that's almost when it's like, okay, the mom needs to go somewhere else before they have an outburst or rage or they're yelling about dinner. What? We're having dinner there? In Ireland?
Everybody's overstimulated by dinner. Every mom. Like, I know people who are like, first thing in the morning, my kids are like, what's for dinner? And I lose it. I'm like, I don't know. You tell me.
That's like, part of it. Plans can be overstimulating. Yes. Right? Trying to like plan throughout the day, and then someone asks you, like you're saying, they ask you a question and the mom's like, well, wait, I'm planning this part, and now the child's asking this type of a question. Yes. And it becomes too much because you're too overwhelmed because you're so focused on like these plans, and then this just kind of like threw you off. Right? Because moms manage the household for the most part. I'm not trying to be stereotypical, but for the most part, moms are household managers.
Yes.
Not stay-at-home moms. Household managers. They run the household. Right? And so all of a sudden you're like 100%. Trying to categorize things, or you're trying to have these fit in this certain box in what you're thinking about, and then someone like distracts you. Now it took your mind away from it, but then it's like you're mentioning all these questions and you're like, wait, I was doing this and now it's here. And so it's when you're getting that moment of like, am I uncomfortable or am I like panic mode, outburst mode? Like it's just such a range. And some moms probably just think like, oh, it's stress. That's what it is. Or it could be overstimulation, or it could be both. It doesn't just have to be one or the other. It's good for moms to kind of think through that. Why am I so mad about my child asking what's for dinner? Well, there could be more to that. Right. But like you're talking about insomnia, lack of sleep, a huge part of overstimulation is loss of focus. That doesn't help us. Like loss of focus is a symptom of being overstimulated. That is horrible news. And I want to bring good news. But I was like, really? Like the way our brains are designed?
We just like shut down. We're like, I can't think or say. I start saying ridiculous things. I start repeating myself because my mind is just gone. I'm like, I need a minute. I need to unstimulate. I need to be in a quiet room, a very clean, quiet room right now.
With the air conditioner on and an iced tea.
Heat. Okay. Having heat. To pee really bad.
It's 100 degrees here.
It's in the 80s. No, heat overstimulates me, like too much heat without relief, and having to go to the bathroom and not knowing where the bathroom is, or like being far away from a bathroom. Maybe that's stress, but I feel like when that happens, I get into like a panic mode. I call it infuriated. I get infuriated and nothing like I cannot answer questions. I can't do anything until there's a restroom.
And you're so focused on it. And so if someone like brings you, if someone starts like distracting you with something else, you're like, I have one focus right now. I'm trying to get to a bathroom. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
you're just trying to zoom in and focus and just get yourself to that bathroom. And you can't sometimes. People want to know what's for dinner. It's a mess.
What's for dinner, Mom? Hey, can we stop here? No, I can't tell you anything. And yeah, it's a lot. So I'm glad that in the next episode, we're going to talk about how to deal with it, because we're all going to go through it. And here's the thing, like with different issues, be it fear, be it stress, well, maybe not stress, but fear and overstimulation, I feel like some of the answers can be immersion therapy, where you have to like you can't get away from it. So you have to almost like immerse yourself in it and learn how to deal with it. And that's why I married who I married, because he is the question asker.
Statement, question asker.
He's not a statement. He'll be like, hey, what are we doing right now? I'm like, I know you know this. I know.
Do you really say that?
Well, it took me many years to be like, sometimes I'll just answer, but it's every day throughout the day. It's not like a once. He's just, his brain is always, and he always needs very, very clear instructions. Like he needs clarity. There's no inference made. So he'll ask a lot of questions, even though he should, typically, but he's very smart and he's a teacher, and this is why. So this why he is who he is. But yeah, I finally learned, like, if I'm overdone, I kind of want to save this for the next podcast, but if I'm done, if I'm to the point where I can't do anymore, I'll be like, you know the answer to this. Think, give it a minute. And he'll always look at me and be like, is it this? And I'll be like, yep, you had that. We didn't need to ask me. He's the patient man.
You're so funny. I think he's just trying to like clarify. Like, is this what it is? Just trying to clarify. But I know you're talking about Chris, but it's also good for moms to realize and to acknowledge like their kids can be overstimulated also, right? Like sometimes moms a child might be reacting or behaving in a certain way, and moms might want to like discipline that behavior. But it's like, well, no, do they have that behavior? Is it because they're overstimulated? Like, instead of working on that behavior, maybe they just need to go into their room and lay down and read a book and calm down. That will already calm them down. You know how sometimes parents can be so quick to just discipline or to like make it an issue or have this long conversation. And it's like, actually, well, none of that really needs to take place because your child's just overstimulated. Let them calm down, figure out what's going on, and then afterward maybe walk them through what they were going through.
Well, and I think that's true. And even with moms and kids alike, like sometimes before you can even think clearly to know what's happening, you need a minute. Like you can't even, you don't know why you're so upset in the moment. Your brain's not focused. You're like, everything is up here. So you need a minute just to be like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I reacting this way? Why won't I answer their questions? Why do I need to get out of the heat so bad?
Okay, something I just thought of is sometimes as moms, like we do cry if we're overstimulated, or sometimes children will cry if they're overstimulated. But think back in like generations where it'd be like, boys are tough, they don't cry. So like here's these like little overstimulated boys and they're crying, but now they're like, oh, I have to be tough so I can't cry. So then they're trying to like figure out another coping mechanism when they're overwhelmed or when they're overstimulated. Like it's just so many things I think that for the positive have changed as we're really working with kids to figure out like the root cause, instead of just that blanket like boys don't cry, you have to be tough. It's like, no, go ahead and cry, and working through that. I think society's done a good job in like shifting some of those beliefs from the past.
Yeah, I like to call that generational trauma.
Oh gosh.
It ends with us.
I was not even thinking that.
You were saying it. You were saying it without saying it.
Well, there you go. There's the hope for the next generation.
It ends here. It ends with this podcast.
Is it Generation X, early millennials that it's ending with? When is it ending?
Let's hope.
For us in the middle. I heard this one thing about how like people born in like late 70s, 80s, 90s kids, early 90s, like that's actually like one of the best generations because it's like we were born before technology really took off. So we had like amazing childhoods, but then we've also seen the expansion and grown with technology. And it's like this very specific generation, which again is that like Gen X, early millennials, who were like born in this very specific time. Obviously, everybody's born in a specific time. But when it comes to technology, they've seen like both sides of it in a way. Or they talk about how our generation are the people who used to be able to get their nails done and acrylics for $25. And now it's $75. We're also that
crazy?
generation.
The
it used
nails.
to be $25.
I remember you could just get like, even before, like, I wouldn't do acrylics because like I just didn't. But if I got a manicure, you could get manicures. Excuse me. You could get manicures for $10 back in the day.
Right.
Now, like, you cannot leave a nail salon less than $50 for like a basic.
I mean, you could get a manicure with like even flowers on some of your nails. You know how like they would do the pretty flowers with the rhinestones? Yeah, for like $20-25. This is not how cheap it is anymore. Not with the like cute designs and stuff. And that's our generation. We're the ones. We saw it back in the good old days. And now we're like, what? The amount we're paying for a tip is what we used to pay for the actual manicure, pedicure.
And that's the thing. We needed to go get our nails done as part of our like overstimulus. Like as our way to calm down, as our therapy. And now it's almost as much as real therapy. So
that's a good segue into the next podcast as we talk about strategies.
Okay.
Like
strategy,
us, share us, tell a friend. Maybe people listen to Mother Funny when they're overstimulated and they just start laughing and relating and understanding and they're like, yes, you guys are not alone as moms.
Do you feel heard? I know that's a question. But we hope you feel heard.
Now a mom just dropped the plate. I do! And just dropped it. Got mad.
Stop asking me questions. All right, everyone. Until next time.
Find us on YouTube at Mother Funny with Andie and Angie.
At Mother Funny with Andie and Angie.
Bye.
All right, that's all we have time for today. We got to wrap it up, unfortunately. But just remember, you might think you're doing just okay, but we think you're doing really great.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. We hope you have a great Mother Funny day. Please like and share our podcast.
But please don't tell our moms.